Hi, I'm Edward Unthank. I'm a solution architect for Etumos. We do revenue operations. I'm trying to pay a lot of attention into what the new AI future is going to look like in our industry and our vocation and how it's going to impact all of our lives. One of the cooler things is in listening to a proper thought leader in the space, John Miller, is his idea and recommendation of an AI native marketing automation approach, which is to say that instead of a nurture campaign, you can imagine it more like a dynamic playlist, a personalized playlist a la Spotify. And I think that's a really cool approach to it. And the way that you would actually be approaching something like that is to have a list of approved campaigns, and then asking your large language model to pick out of the library of existing campaigns and then to match an individual person or account or lead or prospect, whatever we're going to talk about, buying group, doesn't really matter, just the individual object. We have each individual person goes through and then gets a different list of different pieces of content that are going to have individual variable components as kind of an approach, and then match with the individual who's being marketed to, the individual prospect. So you can imagine like Edward Unthank here. You want to look at what I care about. Well, I care about, the kind of nerdery stuff on MCP on Marketo. So maybe I'll send that one first. And then we talk about what would be the next ones. Well, it's probably going to be something super dev, because that's kind of general interest. It's not going to be not on-demand webinars. And we can imagine all of the other fit considerations you would have to determine and ask a large language model, say, out of this database of our content, choose the top 6, and then take the top 6 and then get their summary information of what's going to be used in them. You can imagine it as like, what would a singular email look like? And it's a call to action, it's a hello, it's some text, it's some reasons why. But this is the primary kind of email campaign that we would be looking at. And so you can imagine that if you were to try to come up with a personalized playlist approach to marketing, you can do that by having lifecycle marketing, making sure that primarily you need the data foundations to know who your customers are versus your prospects, both now and historically, as well as to get the list of approved campaigns that can be used as recommendations to feed this recommendation engine of campaigns. And those individual recommendation engines get communicated and dynamically sent to an individual person. So I think this is a great fun approach to it. I think that there's a lot of fun ways that you can do this. I think you can do it in Marketo, honestly, if you're clever about the approach. So that can look like things like going to the Marketo programs, getting a list of the Marketo programs, filtering by the asset and the campaign program channel tag, taking the ones that you look, adding them into a list, feeding them into large language model, asking for the recommendation of the order of recommendations for them, writing it into a large JSON field on the prospect, and then dynamically sending it via a program field or an individual lead field, so that each one of these, for example, could be fully dynamic, a dynamic email that's just being rewritten every single time with a smart campaign with a large language model coming out to what are going to be the recommendations for the next person. Of course, you need to batch it because you need to be more intelligent about how you're using the tokens and you're not just burning through them for fun. Because the thing that we're going to be starting to talk about soon is the cost per lead of what we're talking about with large language models, because it is scalable and dynamic, and it could be expensive if we don't do intelligent tiering on how much dynamism we want to put into here based on what we want our customer acquisition cost to raise by when we're talking about processing every lead in the database. So all that to say, Edward Unthank, I've been thinking through the implications of AI and how it works in marketing operations and revenue operations, coming up with some cool stuff. Follow along. I think there's a fun ride coming up. And if you want to learn along the way, reach out to me, Etumos. Glad to help out along the way. Thanks so much. Bye.